Welcome back to another episode of the Less of a Man podcast. We are doing this a little different this time because one person wants to go to Mexico and party on a boat and got our wives in a tizzy. So
the videos were awesome though.
Yo, and no lie, me and Star called each other because literally my wife is talking to his wife. And they're like, they bet not record this week. They're like threatening her. And I called Char and I was like, why did Raw do this to us?
I was like,
Like, why did he?
But I had to get a negative test, 2 negative tests before I could return to work, right? That's why I took that Wednesday off.
Yeah, that's not I can't present that.
Yeah, we have to see the paper and hold it up like this. And
Okay.
be good.
I'm sorry.
But I thought it was like etiquette in a bachelor party that you don't record.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, as soon as you show the video, boom, it's a girl's booty cheek.
Yeah, right in the frame.
And I'm like, dude, like
I thought it was stay that back.
But I'm just letting you.
Stay there.
Just letting you know.
We recorded when we were in Mexico.
Exactly.
But no, not like that.
But
first of all, it was no COVID haven't ravished the country at that point.
But the things that I recorded were the least of what happened that weekend.
Oh wow.
No, that's fine if that's the least that happened, but you recorded something that our significant others saw and then was like, now we gotta hear about it.
Yeah. It was our fault that you were on the boat.
Yeah. And don't dare bring him in the house. Don't dare come be around him. Don't like. So
I'm sorry.
So we appreciate that.
No, you're not sorry, and that's the problem.
You're not sorry. With that, like, okay, I don't give a fuck smirk.
Yeah, that smart attitude when we got to deal with your shit. Like, how I get it talking to, and I ain't go to Mexico.
I just have to go because I don't have a fight in this.
So in other words, you owe us now.
So you owe us to Mexico. Yeah, you owe us a Mexico trip.
No, we're going to. Where are we going to?
We don't know. We don't know.
I owe you a Mexico trip.
Yeah, because if I'm going to get in trouble for what you did in Mexico, I might as well should have been there.
But we went to Mexico.
We don't need to go back.
No, we need to go again.
No, we need to go to another country.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's fine. Whatever Raw pays for, I'm
fine. Fiji. Fiji works.
Let's go to Fiji.
Raw paid for it. Raw paid for shit. I'm sorry.
It's for our pain and suffering. Speaking of pain and suffering, we got to do our mental health check-in. So, EJ, how was your mental health this week?
So everyone knows last Sunday was my birthday. I turned 38.
I thought it was 40.
No.
Shit, I thought it was 45.
I thought, because Char posted 40 on Facebook. So
thank you so much for trying to be really fucking funny, Robin. When you look older than I do, but okay. I'm 45. You must be 50.
If I shave my beard off, I'm gonna look younger than you.
Look older than me.
I look younger than you.
He also wears the clothes of a toddler.
So it's pick on Rodden Day. Okay, bet. Got you.
You the late one.
You the late one, man.
Gotcha. I got you.
So can I get back to my mental health check-in?
Oh, my bad.
That's hilarious.
Usually Daryl's the one that has to say, hey, can I?
I was like, go ahead.
That's my bad.
As all y'all know already, I had already been in trouble with the law. I gotta do.
You are a felon. You are the predicate felon.
He's not a felon.
I got a charge for DUI, which I've been very vocal about. It was the dumbest situation. I felt like if I was going to get a DUI, I would have liked it to have been like a high-speed chase or something that was more memorable, but it wasn't, so it is what it is. So I had to basically do my penance. On my birthday, I was finishing a DUI course, and then all this week, I got to play with all the other convicts for community service. I was required.
They let you in the yard?
Yes. So
Are you wearing orange?
Like with the chains to each other's legs?
No, that's when you're in prison.
No, that's a chain gang. He wasn't on a chain gang.
No, we did have to wear orange. We had to wear an orange vest that said Norcross Community Service.
When is your next community service? I want to drive past it.
I'm done.
And throw trash.
We're gonna throw Starbucks cups on the ground.
So I was doing my community service. Basically, mostly we were mowing lawns with freaking weed whackers, which is the most tedious, long process. It's so torturous and a lot of manual labor, or picking up trash or things like that. But that was my week. I got to play with convicts and make friends with other people that are, socially degenerate, and had like more hours of community service for what reasons I didn't ask and did not want to know. That was my mental health check in.
One last question.
Are y'all Facebook friends now?
Huh?
It's jail etiquette to ask what you in for.
Yeah. And also, did you learn how to make toilet wine?
Was I in? Was I in prison? Was I in prison? I don't even what?
All right, Shar, what's your mental health?
Man, I had an excellent week. This is actually a real good week, because I am now back in those streets as an employed person.
You now work for the man. You can slave for the man now.
Working for the man. So I am officially a quality manager for a company here in Georgia. So I'll be going back to work at the beginning of November. So I'm very excited about that. Definitely a full circle experience for me, considering how the past 3 years have been. So I guess this is like the highlight of whatever, what I've dealt with over the past 3 years. As I said before, I had kidney failure, and I recently had my kidney transplant. So to go from that point of the diagnosis to where I am now definitely is, a great moment for me. So that kind of was really my week also. So I won't say. Also, I kind of had some mother-son time this weekend, where we went to Gift Garden and actually I was afraid to say that out loud because I know how you guys react whenever.
He was taught the art of breastfeeding again.
So
they walked through a field of flowers holding hands,
and Shar sat on his mom's lap, and they wearing matching clothes.
We had matching clothes, but none of the other stuff happened. And also Shanita and her mom was there as well, so it was almost like
I didn't see them in the pictures
because those pictures have not been released yet. So once those are released, you will see.
So it never happened.
Well, as of now, it never happened. So you'll see that.
The breastfeeding did happen.
No, it did not happen.
Okay. Rob, what about you?
Well, my week started off great. Had a wonderful time. I was in Mexico. Had a blast. It was awesome. Then I came back and had to go to work, and I've been in and out of work for the last couple of days. It's crazy.
What happens when you're
It's crazy that you're working?
No.
It's
crazy that you're off, and then you have to be like, you're laying in bed, and you have to get up, get dressed, and go to work.
Yeah. It was real crazy.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, I thought it was more to the story.
Yeah, so I was doing that. So I did that after I got off work on Friday. I did that. Then on Saturday, I had to do it several times. So, yeah, I was in and out of work on the last 2 off days. So hopefully nothing today.
Did you eat donuts while you were at work like you normally do?
I don't eat donuts at work. Sorry.
You gotta catch our man.
He has to watch his figure. That's why he can't do it. So my mental health is, I started off great news for the week. I put in my paternity leave. I get 2 months off. So I am ecstatic. Dang, Shar, if you wasn't going back to work, I might have been in your house playing the PlayStation, set it up.
I can open it. Well, how you gonna do that with the baby that's coming? So is your paternity leave a vacation, or is it time for you to?
I've never spent this time not working. So for me, it's a vacation. I've never 2 months since I've never done that. I'm excited.
I've never heard of someone.
You don't work though. You don't work on a regular. So
I do work. I work extremely hard.
How you going? I never heard someone look at their paternity leave as a opportunity for vacation.
I bought PlayStation games. I got my whole thing kind of planned out. Like, I'm gonna feed him. He gonna chill. I'm gonna play some Madden, 2K, Resident Evil.
It ain't gonna happen like that.
I'm pretty sure your wife has different plans for you. I'm pretty sure of that.
She got plans for herself. I got plans
because somebody's going to have to watch the baby whilst the other one takes a nap.
Yeah, and that's going to be me.
It's going to be a 2 hour interval. 2 hours.
No, it's 2 hours. It's going to be me.
You have experience like in this. Is there some baby brought-ins around?
Some shooting clubs up?
No, I really do have experience with it, but it's not because I have kids. Other people around me had kids, and I had to watch their kids.
literally had time frames down.
So
2-hour intervals.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
2 hour
tell you.
intervals and naps and feeding and changing diapers and then putting them down and again and then. Good luck.
I'm gonna tell you how this is gonna go. He gonna wake up, cry. I'm gonna feed him, lay him down, and I'm gonna finish playing video games. 2 hours, he gonna wake up again. Feed. That's gonna be the constant circle.
I really hope that works out for you as
It will.
smooth as you said that.
Even
Hey,
if it
first he
doesn't,
believes it's going to happen.
even if it doesn't, I'm off work for 2 months. Like even if it doesn't, at least I got that. But
You're off too much for
But
the
you also,
purpose of watching the baby is why you're
but you
off.
also know the 2 hour intervals also go into the night, right?
yeah,
So
we
you
have
won't be
day
getting
shifts and
any
night
sleep.
shifts. Yeah, we have day shifts and night shifts. We already worked that out, Raw.
Okay,
I'm the day
all
shift.
right.
I'll check in with you after the first week.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all coming over? We all
Who the hell
working
I'm
on
not.
this thing together.
I'm gonna come over, but I ain't changing no diapers or
There
anything
you
like
are.
that. So
There you
You,
are.
you know what, Daryl? I got you.
I
I got you.
appreciate it. I appreciate
I
it.
got you.
So another.
I don't
So
know nothing about birthing no babies. Is what I'm saying.
He tries to dress like he is like gonna be on time for everything in his life. Like,
right,
I never said I was going to be on time. I said
the
I
baby
got you.
baby will be 4 by the
Like
time.
3 months later, the baby walking like excuse me, I'm here to I'm here I made it, man.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here to help out. He's 4 now. So another thing happened last night, and I thought was interesting. I wanted to hear y'all take on it. So, I went on my uncle's house. We watched the Georgia Alabama game, and I went to talk to my grandmother. And I just want to know: do all grandmothers do this? As soon as she saw me, she calls me fat, and she says she was like, "Are you the one putting on the baby weight?" Like she went hard on me, and I'm like, "Dude, does every grandmother do this?"
Yeah.
You raw because you're built
No.
like a pixie stick. But
Okay. So I'm a lot heavier now than I was when I was in high school. So whenever I would go home, from holiday or whatever, I will always get it like, man, why you gaining all this weight? So that's just tradition that I thought it was in terms of going home and people telling me and grandparents telling me that I'm fat. So
like
yeah,
it don't matter. Like I worked out and I saw her. She called me fat. Like it don't matter what I do. I'm just fat to her.
yeah.
And it seems like I'm fat to her every time I see her.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. Like, do they expect you to be the same size as you were when you were 12? I don't understand that whole concept. So it's kind of crazy.
I mean, she went on like a 10-minute.
I don't know if we can hear you, Edward. It's like a little, yeah.
That's because you keep talking the whole
I'm sorry. Okay.
Wow.
But she went on a 10-minute rant about how I'm fat and I'm the one gaining the baby weight.
Yeah, it's like a time warp. My grandma does it too, and she's really has a really like thick country accent. So when I go home, she's like, "You sure is gaining weight." With the little thick around me. I'm like, "Oh, okay, thank you." But I do think that they like, because you're not always with them all the time. They like look at you as the little kid that was like little, and like you're like 30 years older now, and they're still looking at you as this little kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna ever be that skinny again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
except for Raw. Raw's the only one that's not.
Raw is
Has experienced
skinny,
that.
skinny legs, skinny arms, and a belly. So it's like
The belly's actually going down though. I've been working out. I've been working hard on that core. It's been going down. 'Cause I saw myself one time and I was like, man, I can't do this. I gotta work on that belly. Hey, what happened to you running, Edward?
I know.
You stopped running? You stopped running?
I'm not gonna lie. I did stop running because I had so much other things I had to get done. Number one, there's no way I was gonna get up earlier
Excuses.
to go run, and
he's gonna work out in the yard. What are you talking about?
in the prison yard. Yo, I was in prison, so this past week, so I did my workouts there. No, I was not getting up earlier than I needed to go do community service and then go run. But
you were doing so well. You were doing so well.
I'm gonna get back into it.
You got to put two trash bags full of water and put on the end to make dumbbells.
Yeah, he's gonna be outside his apartment.
Yeah.
So let's being with my grandmother though, we were talking about. I told y'all last podcast about the nurse. She went to the hospital, and now we're kind of thinking about putting her in a nursing home because she has a lot of medical issues. But it made me think about like kind of like mortality and kind of how we kind of deal with when that time comes. As of course, if always when you get older, the one thing all of us will have to deal with is somebody passing, death.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I was thinking about how kind of us like as Black males, we kind of deal with that. So all of us have a mutual friend. Over the beginning of the year, was it beginning of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beginning of the
We
year.
had a mutual friend that passed, and it was like it was shocking news, I would say, because none of us saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to start there since we do have a mutual friend. That how did you guys kind of deal with that when y'all first got the news? How did y'all deal with hearing the news of his passing, and also how did y'all kind of grieve with it? Who wants to go first? Shar, you first.
I'll go first. I think when this person passed, it was kind of weird, probably for me, not only for me, and probably for all of us actually, because we were very close and we real close. But at the moment that they passed, we weren't on the best terms, and we were probably at the place where I didn't think we would ever get back to the point that we were. So when that person passed, it was kind of weird because it was sad because you realized that it was definitely the end of a friendship to the point where you would never be able to resolve whatever issue was going on. But it was also sad because it was someone that you really did care about and that you actually lost. So I think I dealt with it by just talking to you guys and actually having a conversation with you. And I think me and Daryl were probably on the same page in terms of what we were with them. And because of that, we were able to separate the person they was in terms of the good with them while still processing the fact that we had done whatever we needed to do to try to rebuild that relationship with them. So it was really talking to each other and just kind of working through our feelings that kind of got us to the point where we were able to deal with that person's death. I don't know if you would disagree or not.
I would agree. I think we was in like kind of a weird space, me and him, and like I think we were still friends, but we were just like not as close as we were.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it happened, you kind of think about like, man, it's like whatever we were arguing about wasn't that serious, man.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it was so trivial, and we could have moved past it and we didn't. And for whatever reason we didn't, and then it made me look at all my other relationships. So it made it seem like, is this like any arguments we have? Is it really worth it to hold on to it because you never know? And then sometimes the answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is not always no. Sometimes the answer is yes, and it's just like it's weird. I just wish that we could have had that time to rekindle. And also, I think because we were in a weird space, I wasn't talking to him a lot. It almost seems like he's still here.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Yeah, it feels like one day I was driving last week and I saw the Cadillac SUV and I just thought of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, man, and it made me remember that he's not here.
Yeah.
And so go ahead, Ro.
Yeah, so for me, I'm not really good with emotions and all that stuff. So when I first heard him pass, I think it was me and Danny, and I was like, damn, who gonna do my taxes now? Because he did my taxes.
Okay.
What?
I'm a little morbid.
That's very morbid.
That is morbid.
Because I mean, it's like,
who's gonna
keep going.
Go ahead. Go. That's
no.
It's real. Go ahead.
No, for real. Like, honestly, like, because I'm not really good with stuff like that. And I was like, damn. So, as the day progressed, it was like, damn, like, we weren't on the best of terms. And the last time I talked to him was really about my taxes. And it's like, yo, like, what could have been different that we could have at least been able to say some things to each other and talk a little bit more than just about business, And it was like, because we were all really close. We've been on vacation together, we traveled together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you lose someone and it puts a lot of some certain things in perspective, and you're like, life is too short to hold on to certain grudges or dislikes. And sometimes you just gotta talk to people. And like, so the other day I was sitting and I was going through my pictures, and it was a picture from our first state conference, Morris.
Oh, yeah.
And we all were in a picture together, and I was like, damn, I really miss him. Because we really had good
We
times,
were
like good
really friends,
conversations.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, even with you, Darryl, like seeing the Escalade in the same color and being like, damn, I miss
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, and then like he was the guy that, like, despite our arguments and stuff, he was the guy that on my son's birthday came with a huge bag of toys. Like I was like,
Yeah.
dude, you can't get his kid all these toys, man. You're gonna spoil him. Like, but he had no problem with doing it, and you kind of remember the good times. But the funny thing was, Raw told me that he was doing his taxes, and I'm like, dude, are you sure you want that? Because he might
Yeah.
take a little bit more off the top because but no, because he used to do my taxes too, and I think he was a lot of things to a lot of people. But
Yeah.
EJ, what about you?
Yeah, I think that for me, I was in a different space with him, and we had a different kind of relationship. So I wasn't in a bad place with him. John and I were always in communication, maybe not as much as we were in the past, but we always would reach out, or he would always reach out and try to see where I was. I think and I said the name. Oh well, too late now. I messed
Keep
it up.
going. Keep going.
Anyway, so I owe a lot to him, actually. You know, since the beginning, he already kind of like laid a good framework for me to like be supported. He knew it was gonna be some stuff when I decided to join a Greek letter organization to be Black and then be gay. That was gonna be a challenge. And he was well before y'all came into the picture. I had John as a support system, kind of giving me some ins and outs and kind of preparing me for mentally what might happen, or what is to come, or what might be questioned, or what people might have an issue with. So I really appreciated that he took the time to do that. I think that he was a really great person to everyone. And yes, we had disagreements. We would always usually agree to disagree, and we always come to a point where we could just move forward, even though we might not, be on the same page about how things were dealt with. We always were cool. For me, it was a shock. Like I was like, literally just had a conversation with him not too long ago. He was just checking in on me because he always did check in to see how I was doing, what was going on, or he would like share funny memes and we have conversations about different things that were going on. And so it was a shock. And I was like, wait, this could not really be happening. And it just hit me when I went to his actual Facebook page and everyone was like talking about it. I think that's like one of the the craziest things is that we go to social media for so many things, and confirmation of death now is through social media, because that's where everyone starts to flood timelines and talk about, everything that they experienced with them and how they missed them and what they were to them. So kind of like really hit home then. For me, I tried to go and, think about all the things that he's done for me and think about all the things that he would want to continue to accomplish, and that kind of gave me a little bit of support and a little bit of a light to move forward, considering our friendship.
Yeah, and the one thing of saying him, and I'll let you go, Charlotte. This one thing I will say about him though is that, like, even though I thought me and him was in a weird space, like before he passed, he gave me a gift. He had a gift for me, and that was the type of guy he was. And that when I got that gift, because at first people, one of our other friends told us, "Hey, he got you a gift." And I'm like, no, you don't. No. And then when he actually dropped it off to me, that's when it's like, it was like, dude, I just wish that we could have been better. But go ahead, Char.
And that's the same. You said you went the same way that I went. I was about to go because when I had my transplant, he didn't call me. He called Shanita to ask how I was doing, how everything was, and what I was going through. So he would check up. He would call her, and kind of get updates on what I was doing. Which I was like, well, dang. I mean, how bad of a space were we in where you didn't, like, we weren't at the point where you felt comfortable. You just called me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like that. You have to think about, like, well, dang, you know, I just wish we could have, considering that I knew that he was still thinking of me, why we couldn't have that conversation to figure out how to get past where we were.
So my question to you guys is, how did y'all grieve through this situation? With his passing, how did y'all grieve through it?
I mean, like, for me, like I was saying, I just talked to people. I talked to the people who were closest, that where we had relationships, that had relationships with him. And I guess, like I was saying, me and you, Daryl, we were kind of in the same space, so we were able to. And I remember us driving to his homecoming service, how we were able to dissect the person he was, in terms of the good person he was, the flaws that he had, and why we couldn't get back to the space that we were, and still call out those flaws in a way to still honor the person that he was as well. Because, so I think being able to process those, to not necessarily consider him to be a martyr, but to really process the human that he was. And being able to kind of work through that with you and everyone else kind of helped me mourn mourn him, kind of get over the process of what actually happened. So,
what about you, Raw?
Man, to be honest, I don't know if I've even like made it through it, because there's some slight regret of not being able to get back to where we were, or at least close to where we were at. And it's just weird. It's like I still don't feel like he's gone,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's been a couple of months. So I mean, it's just a progression that I guess I'm trying to make through, and his birthday passing and all that stuff, and just seeing certain things, it was just like, damn, it's hard.
Yeah, and Edward, I'm gonna let you go last, since you were the close. But with me was that I felt like I grieved by grieving with people, and when I say that, I mean letting people grieve, like me talking to people and letting them grieve, feeling like giving them encouraging words, and that's how I've always been. I'm like Raw. I've never been that real emotional when it comes, but so I kind of just talking to people and seeing their pain and being supportive and trying to comfort them through their pain is kind of how I do it. But I also sit back by myself and kind of self-reflect, and going past the old photos, and I'm like, man, we literally did a lot together, like a lot together into like, it's just sad that we couldn't add to those. I think mine is like just sad that we couldn't add to those memories when we should have.
Yeah.
But go ahead, EJ.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm still, because there's different phases of grieving, and really the first phase is your denial phase, where you kind of don't want to accept what's happening. I think
all of us are still there.
Right. Still stuck there in the grieving phase for deny. Like I honestly, it hit home to see the messages, but I still can't put that is the actual situation, put into words, or put into my mind that's the concrete outcome of the situation. I still look at his messages. He still pops up, which is crazy, to show how much he actually would how like on Facebook, like Messenger, like the people that you typically talk to the most, their bubbles for their conversations are right there. He's always there. Actually, one time I was looking and I was like, why is it online? This was after he passed. It's showing him online with the green dot. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I sent a message like, what's going on? Of course, no one responded, but I still look at things like that and feel like, in a way, he's still here. I know that over time, be able to process it a little bit different and a little better. I think, communicating with y'all about, what's going on has been a healthy kind of outlet to speak about grieving. I think a lot of times people, especially Black men, don't really vocalize how they feel and really try to process in that way, especially when it comes to loss. And I think that's something that I'm glad that we have that dynamic, that we're open to making a safe place for anyone to grieve. I mean, obviously we maybe have not cried or things like that. Probably Shamor did back, on his own. But we would never judge each other for that. We would never judge each other for that, and we would allow the freedom for that. So I think it's that's a really healthy thing that we kind of have built into our dynamic. So yep, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So with us learning how to grieve, I'm interested. What was y'all's first experience with loss? Like the very first major one. I'm not talking about like a turtle pass or something, but like what was your major? Like mine was my grandmother. I was in high school, and she had cancer, and I remember seeing her before she passed. It was like it almost felt like she was walking deaf because she was so skinny at that point and so small from what I remember her as. And that was my first time dealing with it. I remember I probably cried once and didn't do it again. But that was it's just weird, man. And because she lived in Indiana and of course I'm from Florida, it's not like I saw her every day. So then it still has that weird feeling that she's kind of still there, even as I was a kid. So I'm interested, what was y'all's first kind of experience in someone passing?
For me, I still, for me, I still haven't had a major loss. So, I guess the closest thing would be Danny's sister passing. But on my family side, I still haven't had a major loss like that.
Well, how did y'all deal with that?
That's fortunate.
Yeah,
for me, it was more of just being there for her because it was a really hard time for her, and then recently with the anniversary of her passing coming up, it was tough. So I had to be the one that was strong for her, and especially with her being in Orlando, she called me, and when she told me, the first thing I did was get dressed and go to her mother's house so I could be there for her mother because I know she wasn't there, so it was tough.
Yeah, I can imagine that. You're very fortunate because
very fortunate.
I think where you haven't dealt with like that, I've dealt with it kind of quite frequently. I have my grandmother, my mom passed, of course. Since me and Lori been together, she's had like 3 cousins that have passed. Uncle, great uncle who's passed. So I've dealt with it kind of a lot. So I mean that's real fortunate for you that you haven't. Go ahead, Shar.
The first one was my grandmother, and it was probably still the worst one that I've ever experienced in my life. She was just almost like everything to our family, pretty much for the most part. And I was in college. I just finished college, and I was actually in Shanita's job at her school, about to go to her homecoming. And I got the call from my family saying, you probably need to get to the hospital. So went to the hospital. I couldn't even stay at the hospital to watch her die. I went back to Macon, by Shanita and just kind of hung out with her because I was like, I just couldn't be there. On the way back home to go back to New Orleans, from Macon, I kind of did my crying there because I realized I need to get it out at that point because I had to play a different role in my family because of my mother and everybody else. So I had to be that strong one for her. And even when I came back from India the first time I saw her, I knew she was gonna die. And it's kind of weird when you see someone and you just know that this is about to happen.
Yeah.
So that's probably the worst one for me. I mean, I still think about it because she just was so much to my family. You know what I'm saying? So, it's probably still the worst one I've ever dealt with. And just to kind of give a contrast, like the next one would probably be my grandfather on my dad's side. And that was a different type of mourning because although he was around and present in my childhood, it was sad. It was a sad death because I didn't know him, and it was sad. It was sad why I didn't know him. like because of my relationship with my father, I didn't even get a chance to know somebody who should have been as important to me as my grandmother was. So
Yeah.
I remember. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember crying at his funeral, and I remember hugging my grandmother, like, saying I didn't know him, like that, and I kept saying that to her. I didn't know him.
And
I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I kept saying. So
you make great points because when my grandmother passed, she was the matriarch of my family, and I equate the reason why my family is not close is because she passed. And because when she passed, we would always go to Indiana. Thanksgivings would be in Indiana. All the family would come together. Soon as she passed, we all went our separate ways, basically. We never could get back together. And y'all know my family. That's why we still act the way we act right now. And another thing you brought up that I thought was interesting is both of my grandfathers are passed. I have not met one of them. On my mom's side, he passed before I was born. On my dad's side, of course, you guys know I met my dad when he was 24, when I was 24, and he passed before me and him even rekindled. So I don't even know what having a kind of a grandfather is. My other major one, and I wanted to speak about this before you go, Edward, is of course my mother. And that was like I took a week off from work. Like I was just I didn't even take a shower. I didn't do nothing. Just sat on it because I was like literally like in shock that I felt like I was alone. Now, I felt like the guidance of because I had at my point I had my dad, but anybody who knows me, who knows my dad, y'all met him. He's not really a dad. Like he's more like a friend because he's never been there to actually guide. And I'm like this one person that that was supposed to guide me through this life and I'm supposed to go to is not here. And just like you said, Shar, I knew her passing before it happened. It was like she was in a nursing home. She had multiple sclerosis. And I would visit her in the nursing home all the time. And then one day I would go there. She's basically just staring off into space the entire time. Wow. And I knew at that point, like, she's not responsive. I'm talking to her. She's basically just staring off into space. And I knew at that point that was going to happen. And then I get the news that we moved her to hospice care. Then my aunt called me and told me she passed. And it still didn't hit me until my mom made me the power of attorney for some reason. And I had to sign all the paperwork.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, that's why I'm like, this shit is real. And I remember that morning it was ESPN. It was something about it. You know, when ESPN, when they show the soldiers come back and meet their family, I was bartending at the time. And it was before we even opened, and I'm watching it, and I've just bawled right there at the bar that they had to send me home. Wow. But go ahead, Edward. EJ, I'm sorry.
The very first loss I experienced was my grandfather. That was back in like 1994, 1995, somewhere around there. And I was, pretty close. This was my mom's dad. I was close with him. And I think at that time I was so young that it kind of, I didn't really understand all that goes on with it. And then we didn't live in Tennessee with them. So I think as a kid, like, you can't really put together certain things, especially when you live away from your family, because it's almost like they're still there, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're not there with them, you kind of feel like they're still there. It's only until you go visit that place that you notice that they're missing. So for me, it was difficult. But I'd say that the greatest loss that I had would have been my sister, her passing. In 2009, she had a very similar situation to Aunt Morg. She was on the waiting list. She never got a transplant. She had kidney failure. It was super bad kidney failure, and it exacerbated some other health issues that she had. So for a long time, she was on dialysis. Lots of times a week. At a certain point, she just kind of gave up. She hated needles in the first place. So for her to go and have to go to dialysis and have to have that done, she literally was pulling herself away and basically playing with death, because she would try to gauge how she felt on the times at a period of time, she would try to, decide Russian roulette. Today I don't feel so great, so I'm gonna do dialysis. And it kind of caught up. It caught up to her, right? So at that point, this is around Christmas. It's every year around Christmas. Christmas was one of my favorite holidays, is now probably one of my least favorite holidays. And it's difficult for me because this happened on the 23rd where she collapsed. Because her blood wasn't clean enough for it to kind of go through, her body and her system. So she collapsed on the 23rd. My mom ended up flying out over Christmas to go figure out what's going on. She was on life support. My mom was at the point where she was deciding for a child whether or not she was going to remove them from life support because she was basically brain dead. She lived with my grandma back in Tennessee, who was deaf. So when she collapsed, she couldn't immediately respond. So she was out for too long. So that was traumatic for me, and it was a very difficult time because me and my sister, we had just had a conversation. She was at her dissertation for her doctorate. I had just started talking about going back to school to finish degrees that I started before. I started at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and I stopped. There was a lot of stuff going on, long story. She was like, yeah, you need to get back in school. You need to get your degree. You need to be doing this stuff. We can do it together. We'll encourage each other together. This was a week before she collapsed. And so we were like, okay, we're going to get it back on track. We're going to encourage each other. And she ended up passing. And so I made it my mission to go back to school. I not only finished my undergrad degree, but I finished my graduate degree as well. So it's difficult when you're that close to someone to try to put together, the grieving process. And I didn't know what to do. I cried a lot. I thought about her a lot. And then with social media, it kind of makes it worse because she was really big on social media, always tagging us and stuff. And I was always tagging her and stuff. And so the anniversary of all those posts are replayed over and over and over. And not only that, but then it's tied to a holiday. So that's replayed over and over. So I miss her. But she was such a amazing person. And she was so dedicated to education, which is why I always try to make sure that I'm, studying something, thinking about other ways to improve my education level and just to know. She loved school. She loved to teach, so I try to remember her and grieve through that way to try to be reconnected to her. And I think that's kind of a way that we all try to do is reconnect to things that we know that person was a part of and they enjoyed.
Yeah, and I think you're making some great points because with my mom, I first of all, it's triggers. So my mom died 5 days after my birthday, so that's how I always remember. So she died the 29th of June, and it's always and it's certain triggers that you see stuff on TV, like Mother's Day for me is a trigger. My mom was huge in holidays, so Halloween. My mom would roll over in her grave. You see how I celebrate holidays now, but Halloween, my whole place is decorated with all this spider stuff and bats hanging from, and she even dressed up. It was embarrassing, but as a kid, it was embarrassing to see her dressed up as it. But that she would do that, and then Christmas, we had 2 trees. We had a colorful tree and then an all white tree because she said the women of the house gets all white trees and all the males have to share the colorful tree. And so because of that, I try to celebrate holidays a little bit more because I try to honor her in that way. And another thing that you brought up, Edward, I thought was interesting was it seems like these, the people kind of know and they kind of because my mom kind of gave up. And she even told me, she was like, if I go in a coma, do not resuscitate me. She told me that straight up. I don't want to be resuscitated. So I think my mom felt basically she was like a prisoner inside her own body. Because if you know about multiple sclerosis, it's basically the brain can't send signals to the body. So basically she's basically paralyzed. And I think she was ready. She was ready to go. And it made me so mad that she was ready to go because I felt man, she didn't fight. Mm-hmm. And then it took me a while. I was angry at her for a while, and it took me being with my wife, and she said, don't you think she probably fought all she could and she was just tired? And that's when it registered to me that I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
I was just so mad that I felt like she gave up and she left me to kind of figure out this world now. So now that I have a son, I can't my wife can go to her mom and talk about her as a baby and things that she did that's similar. I can't do that. I can't go and say, were these similar? How did you deal with this? How did you, you know what I'm saying? And you know, that's very hard for me. But I appreciate, especially Shara and EJ getting emotional. This would have been a great time to, you know, to be in person to talk about this topic. But I want to ask y'all, is it, for Black males, is it okay to cry when you lose someone? Is it, because we have been taught, we talked about toxic masculinity before, about showing emotion and crying, but even in this instance, is it okay to cry for us males? And let me start with Ross, since he's the resident non-emotional person. Let me start with him first. Like, is it okay? Oh, well, let me start. I say yes, but when I cry, y'all would never know. I cry in my shell. Like, you guys are open to get emotional, especially Char. Y'all are more open to do it. If I ever cried, Lori wouldn't know. Nobody in my household would know. I go off by myself. I do that, and then I'll come back. So I guess I'm saying yes and no. It's okay. But what about you, Raw?
Okay, so I'm getting to the point now where it's okay. Like I'm starting to, really look at it as you're not being soft or you're hurt. You're just hurting. You need to, for some way, to let out all sadness and frustration in a way that is healthy. So I'm still working on me and I'm getting better, but yeah, I'm saying it's fine to cry as a Black man. It's okay.
Are you just
Sometimes
saying you
you
don't
need
do
to
it?
let it out.
Are you just saying
So
you don't
what?
do it? You saying it's okay, you just don't do it?
I mean, I haven't exactly had a reason recently to do it. So, you know.
Okay. All right. So what about you, EJ?
I think crying is fine. I personally try not to cry in public. I think it's, again, something that's self-taught. I also think that a lot of times emotions are personal, and so I don't feel like they should be shared with everyone. So if at all, most times you probably won't see me cry. You guys probably have seen me cry before because I feel like I can trust you, but a general Joe Schmo on the streets would probably never see that emotion come from me. I think it's important that people know, especially Black men, know that crying isn't like an effeminate trait. It's literally an emotion. It's literally an expression of how you feel, and it's actually very healthy. I think ignoring how you feel is more detrimental to you. So I'm completely fine with a person crying. Now I can't cry on demand like Morg, but I think
Like, he really should be an actor. That he does it on demand. But I agree with you, EJ. I think, like, for me, my emotions is not for public consumption. So, like, I'm weirded by even people who do it in public, because sometimes I don't, in this social media age, I don't know if you're doing it because you're really hurting or you just want the attention from that comes from it. But yeah, I'm with you, and that's why I said that I will go in my corner and deal with it internally before any of y'all will ever notice. But I'm a little weird because I will support you guys in doing it, even though I wouldn't.
Right.
But go ahead, Char, since you're the resident crier here.
Resident cry here. There's a I guess when you said that, there's a song that I like. It's by it's like a Pastor Morton. He's a singer. What's his name? Morton. I can't think of his name now. But in his song, he said, "Your tears are temporary, and your tears is just a release of the pain, sorrow, and grief." I mean, and that's all what tears are. It's just a release of the emotions that you're feeling at the time, and it shouldn't be something that's stigmatized as being weak or soft, because we all are sad, we all are happy, we all, those are things that we feel, and the way we show that we are sad in some cases is to cry. And it's really just that simple and basic, that we shouldn't, like look at it as a weakness. So of course, I was literally just crying like 10 minutes ago. So so of course I have
Now
no
he's all fine.
I have no problem.
You're all fine now. It's weird.
Huh?
You're fine now.
So yeah, but to your point, you made a good point that I thought Daryl that's worth making is that, people who do cry, they cry, you don't know if they're genuine or not, and that probably encourages you to not want to be that person who cries in public as well. So people, and I make that point to say that you shouldn't play with that. You know what I'm saying? There are people who really are crying and doing things genuinely because they're hurt. And typically as humans, we can detect who's doing it because of how they feel, in comparison to who's doing it because they're trying to get attention. Because at the end of the day, you can sense each other hurt, pain, joy. That's just one of the things that we can do as humans. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's crazy when I see people that really aren't able to like empathize with people that are going through something emotionally or have lost. I even bring, one example of one of my LBs that experienced child loss, right? And I think it was super smart for them to look for support systems and resources. So they were in this group, and the group was called the Marriage Club. They have like 883,000 followers in this group. They literally were asking about support on how to grieve and go through the grieving process of a miscarriage. Now they put this out on social media, so I don't think they have any issue with me saying this here.
Yes, they have been very, very.
They do it. And they do it because they want other people to feel like, hey, you're not going through this alone. Birth rates are really low. Like they're the lowest they've been, for years recently. So there's a lot of miscarriages that people are experiencing. Two of my LBs actually experienced that, which in a very short time frame. So they were trying to find resources available in the area, and they were booted out of the group for asking about resources. Like people like that, they are not able to process like someone grieving or trying to understand how to process grieving. To me, it's like, I don't understand how that's possible as a human. Like I don't understand where you are as a human that you would literally be okay with just basically shutting someone out from trying to, get out there
for help
to like grieve.
Yeah, and I said, and it's funny is that's why I was so kind of worried about even telling people news that we were pregnant. For once, I didn't know how, they had just lost someone, and I didn't want to, put mine out there. But also, I was scared. We were scared, like if something happened, like I was worried about the news because you hear all this, and I was so worried about it. But I was gonna also do an example. John Legend, they just lost their baby. And Chrissy Teigen, his wife, puts it out there, and people chastise her for it. There was a few people that chastised, like, why would you put this out there? Like, you can't pick how somebody decides to go through their grief, man.
There's a lack of empathy in this world because, it's almost like that balance, because you appreciate the people who put out their information with the intent to connect to others and let others know that it's okay. But it's a lack of sympathy in the social media world where we just, because we believe that, because at the end of the day, celebrities are humans as well, and they experience pain too. And because we just feel like they're just there for our satisfaction and for our human consumption, that we sometimes lose the empathy that comes along with being able to understand that other human beings are dealing with something very hurtful. And we're becoming less and less empathetic the more and more we're exposed to exposed to the opportunity to consume more and more about each other. So because we become less, we feel like we become more familiar with people. We sometimes feel like we can't connect with their pain or understand why they're going through it. Which you would think it would be the opposite of when we actually get to know people more. We get to understand their pain. So it's kind of crazy.
All right, so let's end this with this one last question. I'm gonna ask, how do you, now that we talked about grieving, but how do you move on? What is that? Can you move on? Is that even a thing? And Raw, I'm gonna let you go go first. Like, I know you haven't experienced it in a while, but would y'all say y'all healed from Danny's sister, or do you feel like that's a thing?
I mean, healing comes with time, and it really takes time. It takes people time to heal. Um, for us, I don't think we've all fully healed from it. Like, even knowing her for a short period of time, I haven't healed from it because she was such a genuinely good person. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say, that you heal. You don't heal automatically. You're gonna take time. You're gonna have to remember those good times, those good moments you had with that person, and try to let go of the hurt that you're feeling when you lost that person. You know what I mean? So I guess you heal, but you don't forget.
What about you, EJ?
I feel like grief is a lifelong process. I don't think it's something that you immediately heal from. I think that over time you continue to kind of mend those wounds. But I think that when you have that deep of a connection with someone and you lose them, like, it's something that you deal with throughout your lifespan. And it, continues to attach, as you lose more people, you continue to try to, heal through those wounds as well. So for me, I think that I don't look at it as a healing. I think it's more of how you learning how to deal and operate after. Because for me, I can't fathom healing from losing a sister, or healing from losing a mother, or healing from losing a grandfather or a grandmother. I can process it, and I can learn how to live my life and deal with those feelings in a healthy way. But I don't personally want to heal from them, because I want to remember them as they were, and for the reasons that, we were close. So that's kind of my take on it, on how to grieve through. But I think, again, it's a lifelong process.
Yeah. What about you, Char?
Well, I think I think me and EJ have the same type of perspective, but I just think from my perspective, I think you heal. But like with any type of healing, you're always going to have a scar left over, to remind you of the fact that, of whatever you have to heal from. So, and that's how I feel, because there's always something where if I see a mint, like the little mints we used to have on our table during Christmas, or if I see, because we used to have mints and hams and olives set on the table for Christmas time. Those are just memories that I have, of my grandmother. Or if I smell lemon pledge, because we used to pledge clean all of the wood and furniture for Christmas. So those are the things that kind of remind me, to let me know that those are the memories that we have of each other. So I think we do hit, because if we never healed, we would never be able to move on. And I think about people who may lose a spouse, but somehow are able to find love again. That doesn't mean that they don't love the person that they lost, but somehow you have to move on with your life and continue to move forward, and still continue to honor them in the way that you choose to do so. So that's kind of what my take on it is.
So I think the funny thing is we're all gonna around say the same thing, but we're titling it different. So this was a question my wife poses, because we battle with this every time. I'm more like you, Edward. I don't believe you heal from it. I don't believe there is a such thing called healing. I think you cope with it, you learn how to live with it, and you continue your life, but there's no such thing as healing. Of course, my wife sees differently. She thinks that there is healing, but I think Border we're saying the same things. We're just calling it different. I think she sides more with you, Char, where she's saying there is healing, but you don't forget. I'm saying it's not healing because you don't forget. And so, so I think we're all going to borderline say the same thing, but no, I don't believe it's healing. I have celebrities that I haven't healed from, you know what I'm saying? Like Nipsey Hussle. I don't think I've healed from him, because I got a lot from his interviews and talking about entrepreneur stuff. Like, I got a lot of teaching from his interview, or chat with Bozeman, what he meant. Like, I got celebrities that I haven't healed. So how am I going to heal from my mother?
Yeah.
How am I going to heal from my grandmother if I got celebrities I haven't healed with? And yeah, I kind of think that it's kind of just no such thing. You kind of just learn how to deal with it and live your normal life. Do I get sad, like extremely depressed when I talk about my mother? No, but that doesn't mean I think I've healed from it. I don't think you can fully heal from it. One last question, then this is the last one, I promise. How do you guys view death?
I mean, I can only speak on that as a Christian. And the way as Christians, we perceive that is that it's just a temporary thing where we're going to see each other one day. You know, we die because this life on earth your life on earth have ended. And of course, there's going to be life after that. So that's the way I've always viewed that, in the sense of I may not be with you right now in this earthly realm, but one day we're going to see each other on the other side. So that's kind of how I've always viewed that. From that perspective, I also viewed that as an opportunity to either teach or learn. To teach others based off of what that person may have died from. So it's definitely an opportunity for you to be able to empathize and actually help others through whatever difficult time they may be going through as well, through at the time. So, yeah.
You, EJ?
So, before I did view death as something that was like a sad thing. I had a lot of the same ideas of what Shamorg said. I mean, now I view death very differently. I don't view death as something that's necessarily sad anymore. I feel like the emotions make me sad. The loss, the part of that makes me sad, but death itself, to me, is something that I know that is inevitable. So I think it's important that we all try to live our life to the best of our abilities and to accomplish as many of the things that we wanted to accomplish from our bucket list, or what we had as far as goals that were set in mind, so that when we do die, we know that we fulfilled the things here on earth that we were looking to do. So I think that you have to look at both sides, because where there's a death, there's also a birth or a life that comes as well, usually at the same time. So that's kind of the approach that I try to look at it. Now, when someone does die that's close to me, it is sad to me to lose them, but I don't think that their death is something that is a sad thing, if that makes sense. It's a celebration of their life, because while I don't feel like my sister or my grandfather achieved everything that they were potentially able to possibly achieve in their lifetime, they accomplished a lot, and they had a huge impact on the people that were in their lives. So I try to look at it more that way.
I try to view it like Black Panther was like a stepping off point, and I try to now kind of view it like that. I mean, I'm weird with sometimes I'm thinking like, what if it's purgatory, or what if it's energy flowing? You're supposed to flow back to your creator. I kind of bounce around the idea. I kind of don't even know how to answer this myself, because I kind of don't know how I view it. I think what Shar said, I think I want to hope. I have hope that it's kind of like you meet your loved ones, like you seen like the like Mexican culture, how they treat death, and how they, and that's how I kind of view it. That's how I kind of hope it is, where we're all together as a family and a community meeting in this afterlife. And that's how I kind of choose to view it, and then hope that it gives you kind of comfort, because to know when that time happens, you do have, my mother and grandmother who should be already there as well. And I'm hoping they're there to kind of, greet you as you.
And Edward said one thing that kind of caught my attention, because I know most of the stuff that we've been talking about as far as loss is actually centered around actually losing a physical being. Mm-hmm. But there's sometimes loss that we typically don't talk about in terms of just physical. Like for me, going through what I went through with my kidney failure, I felt like that was a loss of the life that I used to have. And what Edward just said in terms of that's being when there's death, that's also a birth. I also feel like going through this process also gave me an opportunity at a new life that I did not see myself having, because I had to mourn and let go of the life that I used to have. So, that kind of brought that just caught my attention when you said that, in terms of people who lose stuff that they held close to them just in general, just always remember it's an opportunity to be able to reinvent and come out and go through a rebirth to be able to move on to something that's possibly greater than what you initially had. So.
No, and that's true because it's funny, my therapist, when I went to therapy when I lost my son, he said the same thing. He was like, it's like you're dealing with a death that's not really a death. Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely, and I know I haven't healed from that. And I don't think I'm going to. I don't even, to be honest, I don't even try. Yeah. I don't even try that. And that was like, that's still like mourning a death. And that's for me, like, at least when my mom passed, I knew what it was. It was permanent. Mm-hmm. But this one is a completely different. And I think it's harder when it's not death. It's harder that way because now it's just so much unknown. So you can't even get closure. Yeah. There's no closure to be had at this point. And I don't even know. That's probably a whole different, podcast. I don't even know how you even move on from that.
This has been the most morbid podcast that we've had. The most depressing podcast ever. I think it's a great conversation. Yeah. It's interesting that Black men are now having it on this podcast. I don't know that I've really ever seen a platform that's really had Black men sharing their thoughts on loss. I'm sure maybe somewhere in some files, archived somewhere, it exists. Along the lines of our theme of loss today, have you guys ever, and I'll start, have you ever thought about when you die, what you want to do? I know that's even more morbid than what we were actually.
What you want to do?
Like how do you want to be? How do you want your funeral or, how do you want people to celebrate you or remember you afterwards? So mine, I'll go with mine. I think I told you about this before. Number one, I don't want a funeral. I don't want a funeral for.
Yeah, you have said that.
When I die, I want my bones to be turned into diamonds.
Oh.
What? And I want it to be turned into jewelry.
Oh, I've heard that before. And give it out to people like necklaces and stuff.
Yes, that's exactly what I want. That's how I want you to. I want you to see the beauty of that jewelry and remember the things that I accomplished in my life, the things that I set out to do, the fun times, the good times, the bad times, the ugly times, and everything about me that you liked, right, is going to be contained in that item. So that's how I want. I don't want any type of ceremony or anything at all.
I guess for me, I've never thought. Well, I guess I just thought I wouldn't care. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna be able to be at the party. You know what I'm saying? I've always looked at death or funerals or whatever way someone chooses to celebrate my life as an opportunity for the people who lost me to actually be able to cope with whatever loss that they actually had. So I would assume that, if something would have happened to me, I'll let Shanita kind of
just do whatever. Just throw you on the side of the boat and just let you sink.
You know what I'm saying? Get the party started, I guess. Is what I assume would happen. So, yeah.
Mine is, into the mortal words of Tupac, is bury me a G. And whatever a G is to you, I want like Egyptian robes, like a mummy. I want I want to be like, I want the whole Egyptian.
Black Panther.
Yeah. Bury me a G. And that's what. After you do that, whatever you do from there, whatever. But
I need a grave.
Yeah, bury me a G, man.
Maybe I need to think about this, man. I gotta figure out what this party, what this production's gonna be, man.
Oh my God.
Okay. Y'all, you know what? Y'all probably won't even know what I'm talking about. You probably would know. You know this group where it was a video where it was like Helena, My Chemical Romance. You know who that is?
I know who it is, but I probably don't know who I know they're a band.
That video, Helena. Well, there's Helena. Look it up whenever you get a chance.
Same?
I'm gonna look it up, but I know I'm not.
But no, the video is pretty much a funeral, and it's like a musical production where people. It's awesome. So whenever you get a chance, people of the show, I'm probably gonna put it in the group. It's Helena by My Chemical Romance. Helena. Look at that video. That would probably be how I would like my funeral to be. I promise you, like, you will be entertained.
We will check out. Well, no, send us the video and we may or may not watch it. So that's gonna be it for us. Which one of you two is shouting out our social media accounts?
I'm gonna have some more shout out our social media accounts, but I want to also call out a couple of things that we're going to be doing moving forward. We're going to be trying to support Black businesses and feature them on our podcast, on our website. So look out for that coming in the near future. If you know any Black owned businesses, that should be featured on our podcast, hey, send them out. You can send us an email via www.lessofamanpodcast.com. You can also use any of our social media platforms as well to communicate those to us. Every week we'll be doing some reviews of their items, as well as some lucky guests will win some stuff from those Black-owned businesses as well.
PlayStation 5?
That's not a Black-owned business.
Okay. If that was that, I was gonna enter if it was that. All right, Shar, our social media accounts.
You can follow us at Instagram at Less of a Man Podcast, at YouTube at Less of a Man, on Facebook, on Anchor, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on SoundCloud, all at Less of a Man Podcast. Is that correct, Claude?
You were going so good, and then you just stumbled. You were like, question mark? Less of a Man.
I feel like that meme where the guy's like,
yeah.
I got them all. You know what? I'm gonna get better at this. I'm gonna be able to bam.
Yeah, you were trash in our collaboration.
Oh, it was horrible.
You were trash.
The links were never posted below. I'm gonna call you out that the links were never posted below. So you made me look like a fool, Hobson.
below on our.
And restless, we appreciate the support as well as the opportunity to be on your podcast, but you did not post the links below. That's all I got.
All right, so that's gonna do it for us. Go ahead, EJ.
Check out our brother's podcast, The Woken Restless, on Facebook. Also on Instagram. Their Twitter account has some weird verbiage, but if you go to their Facebook page, they'll be able to link you into all of their social media. Dope podcast, dope content, dope people. So
yeah, pretty good show.
Way smarter than us.
Yeah.
But
you want to be like that, man.
But that's gonna do it for us. Any parting words before we go? No, we good? All right. Peace.